The video of the hostage was not shown on the two largest channels, 12 and 14, and channel 11 called it psychological terror. They hate the hostages. He's talking about Israel. In Israel, they fucking hate the hostages. They think that the family members of the hostages are fucking up the bag. Another half day, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, another half day. Parents of American hostage speaks out after Hamas released video showing son.
His parents, John Poland, his father, is joining us right now. And John, I know it must be very hard to summarize,
clean
but
beard,
tell us
I will say.
what you were thinking and feeling as you saw that video for the first time.
Sure. Good morning, George. Total mix of emotions. First and foremost, just huge sense of relief and gratitude to both see him and hear him. Something about that multisensory was really overwhelming. He's alive. Assuming this video is current, which we believe it is, he's alive. The flip side of that is we as parents know our son better than anybody, and we see a level of distress. We see some things that concern us about his health, not only obviously his arm that we knew was blown off. And so for us, we've already been fighting for 202 days at this point for his release and the release of all the hostages. It's fueled us even more. We need everybody involved in these negotiations to lean in, get this done, get these people home.
What else did you see that gave you signals about his health?
I feel like that's a crazy question to ask. What do you think on the Hamas tactics? What do you mean? Didn't his arm how did his arm get blown off?
I don't know.
I thought his arm got blown off like under Israeli fire. Am I wrong? His arm got blown off and it got fucking treated. It might have been a grenade. I don't know. Wow, you're speaking to me?
Hirsch is really thin. He's always been really thin. He's one of those kids who has tried to gain weight and struggled. I know a lot of people in the world wish they had that problem. And he looked kind of puffy in the video. There was like a swelling that concerned us around his face, his neck, his shoulders. We don't know.
Oh, it was a grenade that he was trying to throw back?
What it might be from, but it causes us a little bit of a concern.
His arm was blown off by a grenade on October 7, according to NPR. Thank you, Chatter.
We've talked to a few doctors.
Why is his English accent so crisp? Because they're American, bro. What do you mean? This kid is American-Israeli dual citizen. So is the dad.
Who have said that it could perhaps be a form of edema, could be a form of low-protein diet. But you know, there are some things that we see that cause concern and, like I said, further fuel us to get Hirsch and the 132 other Hirsches, each of whom has families fighting for them. We got to get them home.
Rachel Goldberg, Hirsch's mom, is joining us as well. Rachel,
these guys are. I'm pretty sure these guys are
the days. Is that what they're wearing?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're at the forefront of the anti-Netanyahu protest. By the way, like, while on the one hand, I don't know what these guys' own personal perspective is on you know, making Israel continue the bombing, but I do know that almost every single parent of a hostage that is currently trapped inside of Gaza is understandably currently, for pragmatic reasons, anti-bombing the Gaza Strip. Anti-bombing the Gaza Strip to retrieve the hostages, their family members.
You just heard John talk about his reaction to the video. What was yours?
I mean, it was extremely emotional, lots of tears. To be honest, I wasn't even listening to the content. I was just hearing my only son's voice and seeing him move and trying to look into his eyes. And any parent, and anyone who has parents can imagine, after 201 days, more than half a year of doubt and fear and angst and trauma, to have that, it was very bittersweet. And it was truly overwhelming.
I can imagine. Had you had any assurance before you saw the video that he was indeed alive?
Well, we had been told by our intelligence officer, who's been with us since the beginning, that the families where it is known that there loved one is tragically not alive have been contacted, and also the families where there's a high suspicion that their loved one is not alive has been contacted. And so she is always saying to us, every day that we have no news is good news. So the working assumption was, please, hopefully.
How many hostages do we know? Do we know a body count for killed by Israeli bombing?
I mean, at this stage, every single hostage that has died most likely died like because of Israeli bombing campaigns. I don't know the exact number. I don't know the exact number of how many hostages are still alive. I do know their numbers have been reduced dramatically. Hamas claims that 70 were killed in the bombings. Yeah. I've said this before. The hostages themselves are a bargaining chip for Hamas. It is the only thing that they have. It is the only thing that they have in their hands to stop the endless bombing campaigns, to make demands of the apartheid regime, from the apartheid regime. So there is no reason for them to go around and start shooting their own fucking hostages when they literally did an entire military operation into Israel proper, specifically to extract them and kidnap them.
And
there's no incentive for them to do so.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think several months ago, they were trying to establish a permanent ceasefire.
Yes.
By saying that they would release all of the hostages. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. From the jump.
You know,
and almost every single hostage that has been released has actually echoed that same sentiment, that the Palestinian resistance forces took every initiative they possibly physically could to defend the hostages, including, but not limited to, putting them under mattresses as Israeli fire was occurring above them, and putting their own bodies on top of the mattresses to specifically shelter them from the bombing campaigns. Now, this doesn't mean that they were doing this out of the kindness of their fucking hearts, okay? I want you to understand something very important here. This is simply just rational behavior, because no matter how hard the media tries to present the Palestinian resistance as irrational, barbaric monsters who are only operating on the boundaries of anti-Semitism, and they took the hostages so they can to make these hostages their fucking playthings or whatever, the reality of the matter is very different. Day one, the Hamas officials, I think it was Abu Ubaidah himself, directly stated what the reasons for why they took hostages was. Number one, they said anything that befalls upon the Palestinian population as retaliation will happen to the hostages as well, because they are here, they're in Gaza. Whether it be shutting off our food supply, whether it be shutting off our electricity or clean water, or the relentless bombing campaigns. Okay? And the other reason why they took the hostages was because they wanted to engage in a prisoner swap. A prisoner swap between the Israeli hostages that the Palestinian resistance forces from Hamas and Islamic Jihad, all the way to DFLP, PFLP, and many others, took hostages in exchange for, one, high-profile prisoners that have been kept hostage by the Israeli government, and also the thousands of Palestinians that are currently rotting in Israeli prison in incredibly inhumane conditions. Another demand was also to build a port in Gaza. Those were some of the major demands, and of course, a cessation of hostilities as well. But of course, Israel reacted in the predictable way that they were going to react, which is unimaginable violence. They also took over 30 IDF officers as hostage. Not all are civilians. Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Let's be optimistic that he's alive. But this obviously was much different than sort of a working assumption.
John, what else can you tell us about your contacts with the American and the Israeli government?
So we continue to say that the American government, the Biden administration, Congress, people from both sides of the aisle have been incredibly supportive of us and of all of the Americans who are held. There are currently 8 Americans still being held. We get updates from the administration. Their doors are open to us. Every few weeks, we're either there in meetings in person or on Zoom. So the support has been really, really remarkable. The Israelis are deeper into things, obviously. Our updates tend to be a little bit more tactical. I don't need to say that it is such a complex situation, but it feels like so many people in the region on all sides are just tired of the trauma that we've all been under since the 7th of October. And hopefully at this point, we can get all of the parties to really just go in a room, lock themselves in there, and not come out until we have a deal to release our 133 hostages and to reduce the pressure all over the region.
We all share that hope. Finally, Rachel, what is your message to Hirsch and all of our viewers?
Well, to Hirsch, every single day, many times a day, I'm always saying to him, we love you, stay strong, survive. We love you, stay strong, survive. And I definitely, more than ever, after seeing him and seeing that he is clearly medically compromised, medically fragile, that is my continued plea to him, to his soul, to hear me. And to people who are watching this, to remember that there are 133 Hirsches. Every single person there.
What does it take to convince them that more bombing is less likely to find a hostage's life? They know that, bro. George Stephanopoulos is just not directing the conversation in that direction because he's a piece of shit, okay? They know that. They're protesting against the Israeli government right now. Do they care about the Palestinians? I do not know. Many of the protesters, and there are tens of thousands of them in the fucking streets of Tel Aviv almost every fucking day, okay? Many of them do want the bombing campaign to continue. They just want it to stop for now to extract the hostages and then continue the bombing campaigns. That's it. I don't know about this family in particular.
Has a family, has a life, has dreams, has aspirations. And when we think of them as one number or one monolithic group, we do them a disservice. These are people from 25 different nations. There are Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and it's an age range. The youngest is now a year and a half old, which is tragic that Kfir Bibas has spent so much of his childhood in captivity. And the oldest is an 86-year-old grandfather. We must remember these people. They are human beings, and we must get them out, no matter what it takes, no matter who you are. This could be your son. This could be your grandfather. This could be your daughter, your sister, your spouse, and it's time.
Those are very powerful words. We love you, stay strong, and survive. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Has George Stephanopoulos had a Palestinian family member whose entire family has been wiped out on his broadcast in prime time?
Fuck no, dude. Are you kidding me? They're not human beings. Of course not. The video of the hostage, by the way, Time Without an OWO says the video of the hostage was not shown on the 2 largest channels, 12 and 14, and channel 11 called it psychological terror. They hate the hostages. He's talking about Israel. In Israel, they fucking hate the hostages. They think that the family members of the hostages are fucking up the bag. Okay? Straight up.